let's understand too how we get to this point, how we got right here to where we are, to where the left is not even willing to look at this in the way that you detailed, in the way that you've outlined as the threat that you've outlined it. They have been denying supremacy of Western civilization for decades. They have been moral equivalenting their way out of Western civilization first. And they've been saying all cultures are equal, multiculturalism, everybody has some, great thing to offer. Well, that might be so, but not all cultures are equal. We have seen it on display in writ large this past week that there are cultures that have better values and there are cultures that have worse values. And that isn't even to touch necessarily the religious part of it, although that is a culture. A culture is just a matter of a number of people large enough to be recognized as such. But Western civilization has been under attack by leftists and institutional left for ages because they don't want to ascribe to those values because, well, any number of reasons. It makes them they're full of their own white guilt or whatever. They use the conquest and the imperialist words around different things. Dinesh D'Souza did a pretty good job in one of his books talking about how colonialization and everything turned out pretty good for some people. It might not have been great for the people at the time, but the fact that Western civilization was pushed down into certain cultures has made them better in the long run. It was extremely painful, and they did a lot of horrible things. But Western civilization, since the body of it is still a force for good, and the left has been denying this for years, and that is why they don't look at this as a threat the way that we do.
Well, I think this gets to where we have an opportunity with the tragedy here, and that sounds very crass for me to even phrase it that way, but we actually have a situation where, because of the gravity of this tragedy, because of the scope of it, there are millions of people paying attention now who have been lulled into apathy for years, who may have actually believed the good news that the war was over and everything was peaceful and the economy's turning around and just make happy and go to the mall. There are a lot of people who have been shaken out of that apathy and complacency. It's not really apathy, it's just complacency. People have been shaken out of that. 3.5 million of them went to a rally. And these are people who, they don't engage in politics. They don't like politics because politics is ugly and it's mostly just people hating on each other, which it really is, by the way. We all know that. But these are people who know deep down in their heart and in their gut that something is very wrong, and they're very scared and they need to do something right, and that the enemy in their midst that they've been denying was an enemy has proclaimed himself to be their enemy, and he has come after them with big-ass guns and killed a lot of them, and they need to stand up and do something and say, not here, not now, not ever. And that's what those millions of people in France were doing, and all they could do was stand and gather and stand cheek by jowl with one another and say, we are all representatives of Western civilization, and it is a good thing, and it is a better thing than any other civilization that this planet has ever known, and you're not going to stop us. And that's where rallies actually do matter. I've started to see pushback from, I don't know, the pretentious clerisy that says, oh, rallies don't do anything, they just stand there and then they go home. Well, actually, the people who believe that politics is the be-all and the end-all don't really understand that politics is downstream from culture, like Breitbart told us, and rallies are what allow culture to change very rapidly. Remember civil rights rallies? That changed a culture on a dime. Vietnam rallies, Tea Party rallies. That takes something that is quiet and among a tiny minority in a culture and magnifies it and allows for cultural change to happen very rapidly. That's why, and then after the cultural change happens, then you can elect different leaders, and then your politics can change, and then because your politics changed, then you can fight the war to win the battle for civilization. So I think this rally is a hugely important first step in getting the culture to change enough so that we can change our politicians.
Well, go ahead, JD. Well, I was just going to say, and it's kind of a shame that just like with the Green Revolution in Iran, uh, where is America? And by America, I mean the political leaders of America. Where are we? Well, doesn't seem like we're aiding too much. We didn't think it a big deal enough to send any of our high-ranking officials to the rally. We didn't think it a big deal enough to aid the Green Revolution in Iran. So these are examples of just not thinking that this trend, the any push towards Western civilization, and that is really what we're talking about here, because this is the rally was in support of Charlie Hebdo, and the concept that you shouldn't have to fear getting killed for any kind of speech. You should not fear being killed for expressing your freedom of speech, and that's one of the cornerstones of Western civilization.
But the thing is, I don't want the extremists to kill Muslims either.
Thank you.
I don't want the extremists
Exactly.
to kill anyone. Killing is bad. It's bad to kill, okay?
The point I made this week was that if you value your feelings more than human life, and that you think being offended or causing offense is a capital offense, you don't belong on this planet.